Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy Keenan. Welcome to the Pro Football Exclusive NFL Blog. Continuing week 1 of the first week of the NFL season, we had a great game on Wednesday night between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants to open up the season. And it was a great game for the Dallas Cowboys, who redeemed themselves from their 2 losses last season to the G-Men and outplayed the Giants at Giant Stadium. And it was a great game for quarterback Tony Romo, 307 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. But the star of this game was wide receiver Kevin Ogletree, who wowed up a lot of fantasy football teams out there. Now, I have to give you a little quick fact. Only 3% of the entire nation picked up Kevin Ogletree as their receiver for their fantasy football teams. But based on his performance on Wednesday, he posted up over 20 points and ended up sleeping his way this week. He had an outstanding game, and more teams are picking him up off the free agent board for them as an acquisition for their teams. He had a great game, and now I'm a little bit interested to see what happens later on in the season. Hopefully that wasn't just a Cinderella fluke game for him, and I think he's still due for more good games, double-digit points later on in this season. But it was a great game for the Dallas Cowboys, and I have to admit I was wrong. I picked the Giants to win in that matchup, but the Cowboys had a great game, especially with that secondary. They pretty much shut down the receivers for the New York Giants. Now, I have more games for you to watch this week of the NFC Conference, and I have a couple of interleague games that you must see. Starting with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're going to be traveling to Minnesota to face the Minnesota Vikings. This is going to be a good game for you guys to watch, because this is going to be the second season for their starting quarterbacks, with Blaine Gabbert for Jacksonville and Minnesota's Christian Ponder. They have rough rookie seasons. Blaine Gabbert had a better rookie season than Christian Ponder, so I'm a little bit concerned on how he will develop this year. I think both this season it will be an improvement for both of these quarterbacks. Now, for this matchup, I'm going to have to go with the Vikings in this one, because I think they have pretty much a better defense, and I think they have a more experienced, more comfortable offense with Christian Ponder. Like I said, he had a better rookie season than Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert struggled a lot, and people are already giving him that NFL bust radar, but I think he can improve this year. Maurice Jones-Drew is back, and that's another big news I need to talk about. He finally ended up rolling back into the team. He ended up that holdout on Monday. He is now back with the team, but he is not going to start in this matchup. Rashad Jennings is going to get the bulk of the carries. I think Maurice Jones-Drew will get a play or two, but he's not. He's going to be limited to play. So for fantasy football play, I seriously doubt that you should start Maurice Jones-Drew for this first week, but he will be available 100% in the next week. Going back to the Minnesota Vikings, they have a good running back in Adrian Peterson. He's going to be limited to play. He's recovering from that knee surgery, that torn ACL that he suffered at the end of during last season. But he will be back this year, and hopefully he will get back to 100%. But he's going to be limited to play in this matchup. So for fantasy football talk, I think you guys should go ahead and start Toby Gerhart. He's going to get the bulk of the load of the carries of this matchup, and I think he could give you a 100-yard game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though they have a pretty good rush defense. But overall, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings for the victory in this matchup. Next game to look at, and the second interleague game I need to talk about, the Indianapolis Colts is going to be traveling to Chicago to face the Bears. Now, they have a new rookie quarterback in Andrew Luck, and he is one of 5 rookie quarterbacks who's going to be starting this week. I think he can have a pretty good game, but he will struggle in his first season in the National Football League. You don't really expect too many rookies to just have a good breakthrough season right off the bat like Cam Newton did last season. I think Andrew Luck is due for a good season. He is definitely a decent backup quarterback for your fantasy football teams. He can pretty much have a good game, but this is a tough Bears defense, and I think with Julius Peppers and company and that defensive line, Peppers might get behind that line of scrimmage for the Indianapolis Colts, who's still developing on the offensive side because they lost Pierre Garçon. Even though they do have Donald Brown, who is my sleeper at running back, they have a couple of weapons. They still have Reggie Wayne, but lack experience from the quarterback Andrew Luck, and I think he's going to struggle in this matchup, so I'm going to have to go with the Bears. Also, the Bears have a better offense with Matt Forte, Brandon Marshall, the acquisition coming out of Miami Dolphins, and Jay Cutler. They have more weapons on the offensive side, and their defense is just flat out better, so I'm going to have to go with the Bears in this matchup. Next game to look at, second rookie quarterback I need to talk about RG3, Robert Griffin III, and the Washington Redskins is going to be facing the New Orleans Saints. Now, I'm going to have to go with the Saints in this one. I'm still not 100% comfortable with Robert Griffin III. He still has more development than Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck could be due for a better season passing-wise. RG3 is going to give you some good fantasy points through his feet, but I'm a little bit concerned what's going to happen with his arm, and I think the better passing quarterback is Andrew Luck. But I'm going to have to go with the Saints in this one because they have more experience with Drew Brees. He's Offensive Player of the Year in multiple seasons. He's a great quarterback. They have a good receiving core and a nice running back depth chart behind them. Good scat back and Darren Sproles, also Pierre Thomas, and Mark Ingram is going to get more carries this season. They have a pretty good offense, and dealing with the Redskins offense, a little bit concerned. New players, young players, I don't think they're going to perform too good in their first game. But Pierre Garçon, he is going to be starting. He should be that #1 target this season, and he's definitely a good start for fantasy play. Also need to talk about one particular player for fantasy play, Evan Royster. He's going to be starting in this game, but he's going to be dealing with a lot of rotations with Alfred Morris. He's going to be more of a third down back, and Roy Halou Jr. They're going to be splitting carries throughout the season, so I don't think you should start Evan Royster in this matchup. But I'm going to go with the Saints like I said before. Next game to look at, the St. Louis Rams is going to be traveling to Detroit to face the Lions. Now, the Lions have a good passing game. Matthew Stafford finally had that breakthrough season, passing for over 5,000 yards, all due to the all-pro receiver, Megatron, Calvin Johnson. He should definitely have a good game against the St. Louis Rams, who have I don't really like their defense too much, and their offense is still developing, and I'm not really sure how they're going to perform in this matchup. I don't think they're going to do too well against the Detroit Lions, especially with that defensive line. So I'm going to have to go with Detroit in this matchup, and with Calvin Johnson leading the way at the receiving core. And I need to mention this, he is actually my #1 pick for my fantasy football team. He's gonna be due for a good game. And pay attention to Titus Young. I think you should not start him this week. Just pay attention and see if he has over 50 yards. You should probably start using him in later weeks as one of your starting receivers. I think he could be due for a breakout season. But I'm gonna have to go with Detroit in this matchup. Now, the game of the week for me is the San Francisco 49ers facing the Green Bay Packers at Green Bay. This is gonna be a good defensive showdown. Even though San Francisco has the better defense, that offense is still you kind of cringe your teeth every time they're on the field. And because Green Bay has such a high explosive offense and San Francisco is still developing with that offense, I have to go with the Green Bay Packers in this matchup. Even though San Francisco does have a better defense, their offense still has some question marks, particularly at the receiving core, and they really need some players outside of Vernon Davis for that receiving core. And I think that offense is going to struggle and force their defense to get back onto the field and wear them down against that explosive Packer offense. So I'm going to have to go with the Packers in this matchup. Next game to look at, Seattle's going to be traveling to face the Arizona Cardinals, and NFC West Division showdown. Fantasy football note for you guys, definitely go right ahead and start the Seattle defense. They ranked 4th last season at the end of the year, and being part of the worst offensive league division in the National Football League, the NFC West, they should be due for a good game, and I think their defense is going to dominate against this team, against the Arizona Cardinals. John Skelton's going to be starting at quarterback for the Cardinals, and he is a good quarterback, but I don't have too much faith in him, and that, like I said, the Seattle defense is due for a good game. Now, Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, another rookie who is going to be starting this week. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with him throughout this season. He could give you some good yardage on the ground, let alone passing. He showed a lot of confidence, and he earned that starting position for the Seattle Seahawks. I think I'm really concerned, really intrigued to see what happens later on in the season, because he is a sleeper this year for quarterback because of his performance during the preseason. But I'm going to have to go with the Seattle Seahawks in this matchup. Next game to look at, Carolina's going to be traveling to Tampa Bay to face the Bucks. This is an easy matchup for me to pick. I'm going to have to go with Carolina because they have a more athletic quarterback in Cam Newton as opposed to Josh Freeman, who had a terrible year last season. And plus, they have still a lot of explosive players on that offensive side for the Carolina Panthers. And last but not least, their defense. They're bringing John Beeson back to work along with Luke Kuechly and James Anderson. They're still developing that defensive line, but that defense should still have a good game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one player I'm definitely going to keep an eye on is running back Doug Martin. I'm really seeing, I think he could be due for a couple of good games this season in fantasy football play, but I don't think he's going to do well against a returning Panthers defense. I'm going to have to go with Carolina in this matchup. Now, those are all of my key matches this week. Now, I have a couple of other notes for you guys for fantasy football play. Trent Richardson, he is questionable about starting him this week for fantasy play because he's still recovering from knee surgery. He's going to be limited to a limited amount of carries. This is a risk. You can use him, you can start him, but I'm really questionable. I really suggest you not to start him this week. He should be available for week 2. Now, I have a couple of running backs who should be good replacements for you guys in fantasy play. Starting with the Seattle Seahawks, Robert Turbin. Now, Marshawn Lynch is scheduled to play, but he's still dealing with back issues, and I don't think he's going to be getting much carries, but the bulk of the carries should go to Robert Turbin, so you should definitely put him as replacement for Marshawn Lynch or Trent Richardson for your fantasy play. He's a good running back out of Utah State. And another running back that you should consider is Ronnie Brown of the San Diego Chargers. Now, Ryan Matthews, he is getting recovering from injuries, but Ronnie Brown's definitely going to be starting and getting the bulk of the carries in this matchup against the Oakland Raiders. So I think you should either pick between Robert Turbin or Ronnie Brown for this week as a replacement for Trent Richardson and Marshawn Lynch for fantasy football play. But if I had to choose, I would rather go with Robert Turbin because I'm more comfortable, and Ronnie Brown has not been. He had a couple down seasons for the past couple of years. I don't really know how he's going to perform this week, but he is a decent replacement for either Trent Richardson or Marshawn Lynch. So those are two players that you should consider picking for your running back position for fantasy play. Now, next time I'm going to catch you guys is next week for week 2 of the NFL season. Thank you for watching today's vlog from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.